Hello everyone, I'm Julie. Welcome to another Creative Design Team collab video. Today we are sharing a variety of projects using the Happiest Place collection. This collection is available from now until the end of August. From this beautiful pattern paper to the silver foil cardstock, and trust me, this video does not give it justice. It is so pretty. It also comes with 2 sets of SVG files, art design and art titles. If you don't have a Cricut, don't worry, they also have stickers. So for my project, I decided to make this trifold mini album. I'm also going to be using flip flaps, and they're going to be my secret weapon, and you're going to see why in just a minute. So I've gone ahead here and I've pre-cut the center of the book, and I've used 2 sheets of the pattern paper. I kind of went ahead and I fussy cut because I wanted to have that burst coming from the center and working its way out. So again, I've used 2 sheets and it's going to run across the entire inside cover. So as I mentioned to you before, this is a design space file and it's all done in Cricut, even the score lines, so you don't even have to think about it. If you don't have a Cricut and you want to make this project, I will have instructions listed below. So let's start putting this book together. Now the hardest part of this project is to put the cover together, and I think it's worth the effort because the inside comes together really easily with all of those flip flaps. So here you see me assembling those 3 panels. Now you have to make sure that you're not overlapping your glue or your cardstock on top of that score line, or else it's not going to fold properly. So I'm just using here double-sided tape. You can use whatever you have on hand, and I'm going to burnish that in, and I'm going to form my book cover. So I'm just going to make sure that it's all nice and flush. So we're going to go ahead here and fold on each of those score lines, and you're going to make sure that you're folding exactly on the fold line because you want this to close properly. So each of those flaps are going to fold on top of each other, and when I do my score line, I always try and line up the top of my cardstock just to make sure everything is nice and straight. So you've got a double score line here to make up for the width of all of the pictures that are going to go inside this mini album. So as you can see here, it's folding really nicely. And now we're going to have fun with the pattern paper. Now this dotted pattern paper actually has a pattern. See here, you've got all your dots going straight in a row. I wanted them to be a little bit more random, so you have to make sure when you're going to do your first score line that you're going to flip that onto the other side, and you're going to score that at 1 inch. Now the purpose of this score line is just to make sure that when you're putting your cardstock inside of it, you've got a nice resting spot and it's nice and straight. So I'm going to push that all the way down to make sure that it's nice and straight, and then I'm going to do the second score line. I found that by doing it manually, if you want, the way that I've just done it here, you are sure that your cardstock and your pattern paper is perfect. Since my cover is a little wider than 12 inches, I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to add 2 end pieces. I'm going to use the beautiful foil cardstock, and I'm just going to go ahead here and do 2 score lines at the 1 inch mark. So the first thing you'll want to do is cut the excess bulk from that corner. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just running my scissor across those 2 intersecting lines, and I'm getting rid of that bulk that's in the corner. And you'll see it better when I start to fold it. So I'm going to bring in my cover, and I just want to fold on that score line, which was done at 1 inch. And I'm going to just use my bone folder to have a nice crease. And then here I'm folding it, and I've realized that I've got a little bit extra. So just go back in there and cut so that when you fold it, it's not on top of each other. It just forms a really nice corner. And I'm going to make sure it's nice and tight around my white cardstock base. And I'm going to repeat the same process that I did for the polka dot piece. I'm just going to make sure everything is nice and flush, and I'm going to take out my ruler, and I'm just going to use my score tool here, and I'm going to make a little line and to make sure that everything is nice and aligned with the inside piece, because you want everything nice and flush. So now that we've cut all of our pieces, I'm just going to go ahead here and I'm going to run Tombow glue on the entire surface. Now I'm not putting too much glue, but I am being generous. I'm not sure if that makes any sense to you guys. You don't want to put too much, like the line is thin, but it's covering the entire paper, if that makes any sense right now. Anyways, and I'm using my bone folder and I'm rubbing it along the back side just to make sure that it's nice and secure. And I'm also starting to crease my cardstock with my paper to make sure that it's going to fold properly. And I like to use my little I guess glue eraser, whatever you call this thing. It's my lifesaver when I make mini albums. It's fantastic. It just picks up all of the little gooey mess. So we're going to go ahead here and add those corner pieces, which just finishes the cover really nicely. I'm going to show you here, you'll see the amount of glue that I'm putting in. So it is a generous amount of glue, but it's not like a thick bead of glue. I guess that makes more sense, right? So I'm going to run it all along the black cardstock, and then I'm going to fold that over, and I'm going to put it or wrap it around my white cardstock base. And I just want to make sure that everything is nice and flush. I'm just going to fold that over. Now it's a little bit harder to do with this piece because it is cardstock, but I felt that it was a really good piece to have at the end because this book is going to be opened and closed several times, so it just makes it nice and sturdy. So we're going to repeat that same process for the other side, and we're going to have our cover complete. Now I am fussing a lot with this cover, but that's all the book is. The book is going to be done in no time at all once we start putting those flip-flap. Now here you're going to see me starting to train the paper. You don't want to go ahead and just fold that on the score line because it will rip. It is paper and cardstock after all. So you're just going to start training both of those paper, and there's glue in there, and you're just going to go gently and you're going to fold them until you can close your cover. Now remember, you've got 2 score lines on each side. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm using my ruler and I'm just training my paper and my cardstock to fold over nicely. So as you can see here, I'm not rushing this process, and there's no point in rushing this process because this is your entire book, the cover. So we're going to do this on both sides, and I'm gently pushing that up against my ruler, and then I'm just pushing all of those little buckles that are, where the paper doesn't really line up with the cardstock, and I'm just kind of pushing everything down. Because I've used that Tombow glue, so the white one in particular is more pliable, it doesn't dry hard, so it gives you the chance to fold and to not have like a hard finish, if that makes again any sense. So the inside pieces are going to hide all of that construction, and we're just going to repeat that same thing. We're going to go ahead here and add the Tombow liquid glue, and as you can see, I'm putting a generous amount, but the bead is really thin, and I'm just going to add that on this side here, and this first panel is actually running across those 2 score lines. So we're going to have to repeat that process again, where I'm going to gently fold my cover so that nothing rips. And if you take your time, it doesn't rip. Like I've done a few of these now, and I really like the weight of the 2 pattern papers on both sides and then your cardstock in the middle. Once you fold that in, it gives it a really nice shape, and it doesn't crack and it doesn't tear. So I've added all of my pieces, and as you can see here, I did use 2 sheets of the pattern paper, but I really like the starburst that was going from the center of my book and all the way out. So our book is pretty much done as far as the construction. So this is all the heavy lifting. Everything else after that is just a few flip-flaps and you're just going to cut pattern paper to put inside, and you'll see it comes together beautifully. So don't rush this process. Go ahead and gently fold on these score lines until you can close your book. And as you can see here, it's closing really nicely. And now for the fun part, we're going to start putting in those flip-flops. So on the left-hand panel, you're going to start with your 6 4x6 flip-flops. I like to miter off the corners. You don't need to do it, but I just like to do that. And I'm going to put this first one directly flush with the yellow pattern paper and centered on the panel. So I'm just going to go ahead here and I'm going to position that right in the center of that panel, and then once I'm happy with it, I'm going to flip that over and I'm going to burnish it in. Now you don't need to burnish them in, but I feel that this book is going to get a lot of love and a lot of viewing, so I just wanted to make sure that those flip-flops stayed together nicely. So all of these flip-flops have been put together and they're like cascading all the way down, and they go directly one below each other. So you're using the previous flip-flop and then you're just putting the next one down, and they've been perfectly spaced, and the book has been sized to accommodate 6 flip-flops. So on this side here, I thought I'd do something different, and I use the 3x4 flip-flops. Now I still have 6, and I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to start the first one again at the very top, and I'm going to make sure it's nice and flush with the yellow pattern paper, and then I'm going to add all of my other flip-flops, and I found that by leaving about an inch in between all of them, it gives a nice cascading effect, and they take up the entire length of the mini album. So here you see me kind of measuring, so I kind of measure an inch down, and then I just go ahead and I add the next flip-flop. So I purposely flipped these ones here on the landscape side, because I know there's many of you out there that will take that same picture on the portrait side and on the landscape side, just to make sure you have enough pictures when it comes to projects such as this one. So here you've got your 6 landscape photos if you want, and they're going to be running all the way down, and they are all put together. So you've got 6 here, and then you've got 6 larger pictures inside this mini album. I'm going to burnish all of those little edges in, and we're going to start working on the centerpiece. Now the centerpiece, I wanted to do something a little bit more fun or interactive, so I'm going to go ahead here, and as you can see, I'm using the 4x6 flip-flops, but I'm using the ones that have the glue part on the length as opposed to the top, and I've gone ahead and I've put them one on top of each other, and I'm very mindful that it's not covering those 2 score lines so that it doesn't interfere with closing of the book. And then this little pocket at the bottom fits 2 nice photo placements, and or photo mats I should call them, and the photo mats actually hold my flip-flops in the center. So I thought that was kind of fun and a little bit interactive. So we're going to go ahead here and finish or embellish the book. Now off screen here, I've gone ahead and I've cut all of the pattern papers, and as you can see here, my 2 photo mats are already done up with 4x4 photos, and I'm just going to decorate with those beautiful cut images from those SVG files that come with this beautiful collection. Now, who says that daubers are only for inking? I love to use my finger daubers to glue small little pieces such as these little pieces right here. So I've gone ahead and I've used just a little bit of glue on like a post-it note pad, and then here I'm using my piercing tool and I'm adding those 2 little yellow dots. They are very small, but they are very cute. I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to add my beautiful title at the bottom of my photo mat. So here I've got my all-purpose mat, and I've got a little bit of glue, and I've used just a tiny bit of water, and I'm using my dauber, and this way I don't get any glue that seeps out from underneath, and it works like a charm every time. So this is the first one, and it's all done. I'm just going to make sure it's nice and tacked down, and we're going to put that straight in the center, and then we're going to work on the second one. So this one here, I added a few pieces at the back, so I'm just going to use the Tombow glue. I didn't feel that it needed the little finger dauber for that one, and these little fireworks are really cute, but you know, they are small and a little finicky, as you could see, but I just love the way that the foil background with those stars, and then you've got those beautiful fireworks going over, of course, the Disney castle. It was just perfect. It just had to all come together. I really liked the look of this little photo mat. So I'm going to continue decorating my little pocket, and I don't know if you've noticed, but off camera I did go ahead and I changed the pattern. I had the foil striped in the center, and I just felt that there was too much going on, so I just repeated some of the pattern paper that was already on the inside. So the book here is pretty much done, but we need something to close it. So we're going to work here on the closure. So this is just going to wrap around the entire book. And I thought that this little piece would be really cute if you sneak it at the back, and then maybe I'm going to add the date at the back, and it's just a cute little element because this comes as one SVG file, but I felt that all of it at the front was just a little too busy. I like to kind of place all of my pieces before I start gluing them down, just to make sure I have enough room. And this one here, definitely you start with the little heart and you position everything, and as you can see, magic of video, everything is perfectly aligned, and just make sure you give yourself enough space. So we're going to go ahead here and we're going to glue those two pieces together. So again, in the design space file, it's all cut for you. The score lines are already in there, and what I'm trying to show you here is that the front piece is going to fold over. So your cardstock is going to fold over the back piece, and when you glue them together, you're not going to see, I guess, as much construction of it because it's going to wrap around. So I'm just going to pull off my little double-sided tape, and I'm going to use my score tool, and there you have it. You've got the perfect little closure for this book. You're going to fold that over, and you're going to slide that right on top, and it slides on perfectly. So let's go back inside because we've got a few little things to finish up. So here I've got quite a bit going on with my flip-flaps, and I thought, why not just add a zip strip? It's just going to kind of hide all of those little flip-flap pieces, and it's just going to look so pretty. So here again, I'm showing you the interactive element of those two photos, and then those two guys fit right inside the pocket and holds everything nice and closed. So because we've got such beautiful zip strip or branding strip, whatever you want to call these, I've gone ahead here and I've cut just a few, and I'm going to add them to cover the flip-flap element. So that way it gives you a little bit more pattern inside of your book, and you kind of hide that little flip-flap piece if you don't really like it. It doesn't bother me that much, but I thought, why not, right? Because they're so cute. I wasn't sure if I was going to add more pictures to the back cover, and I thought, why not? Like, this is a mini album for Disney, and we have so many pictures, so more photo placement is always a good thing. So I'm going to add here a 4x4 picture and my little camera that was cut from the SVG files that come in the Cricut Design Space file. And for this collection, I'm going to add it down here with some dimensional tape, and I'm using the thin dimensional tape. And because I don't have my picture right now, I'm just going to cut up the backing, and where it hits the photo, it's not going to be tacked down, it's only going to be tacked down on the surface. So I'm just going to move that over so that when my flip-flaps are closed, you don't see it right away, so it's kind of like a fun element. So I thought, well, if I'm going to add some pictures on the left side, I might as well add a couple more on the right. So here you've got 3x3 photo mats, and they've got a really nice thin border of the black, and these cute little flowers just kind of finish it all off. And I really like the way that they look. So I'm just going to add those with, again, the thin 3D foam tape, and I'm just going to sneak them so that when you close your flip flaps, they're kind of hiding, and you see them when you open that up. So for the center, I decided not to put anything in there, but I decided to put that photo mat underneath and then the other one on top. And there you have it, your perfect little Disney album. And this album, just in case you were wondering, holds 22 photos, the way that I've done it right here. And if you've got more pictures and you decide that you want to load them up on both sides of those flip flaps, you can add an additional 14 pictures for a grand total of 36 pictures in this small little album. So I thought that was pretty generous, and these flip flaps, like I said before, are my secret element to make sure that I can just add a ton of pictures to a very small project. I think this book measures 5 by 10 when it's all folded up, and I really like the way that it turned out. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. And next up is Miss Carrie. I've linked her video next. Be sure to watch all the videos from the creative design team members. All their links have been posted below. If you'd like more information about this project, check the link for the assembly guide. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourself a wonderful day. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.